It almost took 10 years of development for The Last Guardian to come out, which usually means a game will either be a complete mess or pretty good. Thankfully, The Last Guardian is the latter. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, let's just put our title on the far right side of the screen. That makes tons of sense. Here, I'll play along. There we go. That'll make for a wonderful thumbnail. You play as some nameless boy who finds himself trapped with a giant cat, goat, bird thing that he does eventually name Trico. So this boy finds himself trapped in a cave with a strange animal, covered in tattoos, and he can't remember a damn thing. Which admittedly sounds like the setup for the next Hangover movie. As every story with a human befriending a wild animal goes, it starts off with you feeding your standoffish friend with anything that isn't you. After working together to escape your dungeon, it becomes clear you'll have to work together, again, to climb this massive tower to hopefully escape. The game's narrative is straightforward enough. Escape with your new best friend as your relationship becomes stronger. And to that end, it works incredibly well. I'd be lying if there weren't times when I would say, no, during the times Trico got gangbanged protecting you from one of the many threats that exist on the tower. It's quite clear you need one another to survive, and if that isn't followed by affection, then I don't know what is. Or maybe you're just writing your story poorly or something. But this story is told by actions far more than words, for obvious reasons. The boy will occasionally talk to Trico, and the narrator will occasionally explain the situation, but these instances almost felt redundant, because the story is told clearly. It's almost like the developer was scared an important detail would fly over a player's head, and so we forced some unnecessary exposition in to make sure it didn't. While the relationship may be as clear as day, the story behind the ruins you're in is far more ambiguous. It definitely adds a foreign and mysterious nature to the setting, and even after finishing the game, I still have some questions that are most likely up to the player's interpretation. So yes, I did find myself invested in the world and narrative. And it's kind of hard not to when the gameplay and story emotionally align so well. The player and the boy are generally in sync. You feel just as lost and confused, just as attached to Trico, just as annoyed when Trico doesn't listen for the 50th fucking time. Hell, you even feel just as heartbroken when the game goofs and has you falling to your death in slow motion because our friend forgot how to catch. What you say? Oh, that you only meant when. But as far as the gameplay goes, it's one of the better puzzle platformers I've played in recent memory. Yeah, you'll be doing a lot of jumping, climbing, and critical thinking to claw your way out of these ruins, but it just feels so organic. There was one part where I reached a gate, and because of video game logic, I assumed I had to find my way around to open it up. It admittedly took me a few minutes of wandering around before it occurred to me the boy is small enough to fit through the bars. It's moments like these that just make sense, and they're not always obvious because the game's physics are more realistic than I'm used to. If you ever get stuck on a certain puzzle, it can almost always be figured out by exploring the room more, and I respect that design philosophy. With that said, it can be infuriating when you get stuck and after 30 minutes of searching, you're still stuck in the same spot. I'm looking at you, water levels. Although wasting time in a room wouldn't be so bad if the levels had more variety. I understand what they were going for, but the visuals of the stone ruins lose their novelty quickly. But it does help that Trico isn't a complete idiot. I guess one of his tricks is always finding his way to you, and thankfully not needing to be led around 24/7, because that would have fucking ruined the game. He usually comes after a quick shoutout, which makes him better than every other NPC I've helped out over the years. But as far as the platforming goes, it's alright. It's nothing too special or challenging, it's just more of a way to get around than anything else. Although this kid makes Nathan Drake look like a little bitch. Haha, just kidding, I'm totally fine, I'll walk it off. How long does it take to heal a broken femur? A few months? Fuck that, I'll do it in 10 seconds. I will say the worst aspect of the game is trying to get Trico to follow your directions. Sometimes his feeble animal mind can't even look up to the next ledge to jump on, so he needs you to point him in the right direction. It should work in theory, but sometimes it takes the big dumb animal a while to figure out what the hell you're trying to make him do. Granted, it's like trying to order around a real animal, but it's more annoying than anything else. There are enemies in this game, but there's not much you can do to them. All they do is offer you some candy and the boy practically jumps into their arms. If they take you beyond the blue doors, it's game over, so you have to do your best to mash your way out of their unrequited loving embrace. After breaking free, all you can do is run. Even if they're not the most athletic and can't reach you on a ledge, they'll start using their ninjutsu just like that one group of weebs in middle school. You know which one I'm talking about. So just like in real life, it's up to somebody else to fight the bullies for you. In this case, it's up to Trico to save the day. The last Guardian can feel a bit stretched out at times, specifically the parts where Trico refuses to move unless he gets something to eat, despite the fact I just fucking fed him a couple of barrels 3 rooms ago. These parts are really unnecessary, and it's plain to see the developer was thinking of ways to make this game last as long as possible. The game can also feel a bit segmented at times. I mean, that'll happen when your game takes almost a decade to make, but it's noticeable if only because the rest of the flow is so smooth. It's stuff like adding dog characteristics to a creature with no dog traits, and a lengthy span of time in between discovering the mystical mirror. These are relatively minor, but they're still noticeable. Or maybe I'm looking at this game with a magnifying glass because of how detailed it is. Because, oh boy, this game is detailed. Most people know you can pet Trico, probably because the game tells you can, but it took me the entire game to realize you can actually smooth down his feathers when you pet him in a specific area. It makes so much sense, but you don't usually think that way when you play video games. Even though the environments can get drab as you go, the art style is quite nice. During the eye candy areas of the game, you'll see these massive environments that are either humbling or a testament to how far you've climbed. And when this is coupled with the gorgeous lighting, some plant life, and the fantastic soundtrack, that's when you'll soak in the artistic bliss that this game has to offer. At least until the frame rate decides to butcher the moment. The camera also does this thing where it likes to black out and reset behind you in the most jarring way possible. But other than that, the game really does look great. This game is a treat, and I'm glad I got to play it, although I'm a little surprised it even came out. Is it fun? I'm gonna have to say no. It's enjoyable, but it's more along the lines of something like Journey, so if you're not a fan of those types of games, approach cautiously, because you're in it for a longer time than those artsy type of indie games. But if you can look past that and some of its other flaws, you'll be getting an awesome puzzle game with an incredible story. The Last Guardian gets a B. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you're just here for the giveaway, the winner is this person. Yay!
Congratulations!
Alright, so to claim your game, all you have to do is message me on Twitter, and if you don't message me by the time I make my next video, I'm burning the code, as in lighting it on fire. But other than that, remember kids, push with your legs, not your back. Later.